Two leading research and teaching institutions have formed one alliance to address the world's greatest challenges. The University of Toronto and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem have a history of partnership in research and discovery. Now, this alliance promises to elevate the global profile of both universities and empower leading researchers to address some of the greatest challenges facing society today. It will also build an international entrepreneurship highway that gives student entrepreneurs from both institutions practical experience and training in each other's innovation ecosystems. Help strengthen Canada and Israel's vital and enduring friendship. Now more than ever, our world needs innovative solutions that support the next generation of global leaders.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Appleby, and I'm pleased and honored to serve as the Campaign Cabinet Chair for the University of Toronto, Hebrew University of Jerusalem Research and Innovation Alliance, and as co-host for this historical launch event. Now, before we begin, we wish to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto and the offices of the Canadian Friends of Hebrew University operate. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So someday soon, we can again get together in person. But meanwhile, I want to thank each of you for joining us today virtually. I'm delighted to announce that the University of Toronto and Hebrew University have formed a strategic partnership to address some of our greatest global challenges. This morning, you'll be hearing from university leaders about how this alliance will pave the way for Canada's and Israel's top universities to collaborate as global hubs for the talent, cutting-edge research, and innovative startups. You will also hear from the researchers leading the first two collaborative research projects of this alliance. One project is doing cutting-edge research to improve our understanding of COVID-19 at the molecular level, critical to preparing us to fight future pandemics. This alliance will strengthen the long and unwavering friendship, and it is long and it is unwavering, between the University of Toronto and Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and the enduring bonds between Israel and Canada. Together with your support, we can elevate this alliance into a world-class partnership to confront global issues, forge close ties between future leading thinkers and innovators in both countries. I'd like now to introduce the presidents of the University of Toronto and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Professor Merrick Gertler is president of the University of Toronto. Under his leadership, U of T has focused on leveraging its urban locations for the mutual benefit of university and our city, strengthening and deepening key international partnerships and reimagining and reinventing undergraduate education. His research investigates the role of city regions as sites of innovation in the global economy and the foundations for local economic success and prosperity. Professor Asher Cohen is the president of Hebrew University of Jerusalem and its former rector. He has recruited top researchers from Israel and abroad, created new and innovative academic programs, and improved the educational experience of the students. He conducts research in the cognitive sciences and previously served as head of the Department of Psychology. President Gertler, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us for this very special occasion, today's launch of the University of Toronto, Hebrew University of Jerusalem Research and Innovation Alliance. This is a very exciting initiative, one that brings two top universities in Canada and Israel much closer together, and it serves as a model for collaboration among major global institutions. In breaking this new ground, U of T is delighted to have such a distinguished partner. Hebrew University, as I'm sure you all know, was founded by Albert Einstein, Martin Buber, and Sigmund Freud, among other luminaries. In its first century, 8 members of its community have received Nobel Prizes. It now encompasses more than 100 research centers and some 4,000 research projects. It's produced 170 startup companies and 600 commercial products, and the list goes on and on. U of T can point to many similar achievements. Indeed, our two institutions are so well matched in so many ways. We are both comprehensive universities, encompassing excellence across many disciplines, and each of us is closely affiliated with a network of truly outstanding research and teaching hospitals. We enjoy long-standing person-to-person ties between us, which grow stronger each year through our student exchange program. I fondly recall the time I was hosted so graciously by the Halbert Center for Canadian Studies at Hebrew University when I presented the Ari Shachar Memorial Lecture. And with Roz Halbert with us here today, I'm pleased to note the Halbert family's early and continuing support for international exchange partnerships between U of T and Hebrew University, a program that in many ways has served as the template for much of our partnership building around the world. Additionally, our two universities are so fortunate to share many generous donors and many committed volunteers. Some of the U of T supporters joining us today include the Asper family, Leslie Dan, Sandy Rotman, and Lionel Schipper. And now through the Alliance launch today, we are leveraging our many individual ties as well as the complementary strengths shared by our two great institutions. The timing of today's event is also quite notable, coming roughly 1 year since the global pandemic was officially declared. The crisis has reminded us that our greatest challenges, from public health to climate change, that these challenges are global in scope. Responding to these challenges requires collaboration among our brightest minds, transcending disciplines and borders to achieve groundbreaking research and innovation. U of T and Hebrew University already make powerful contributions independently in these crucial endeavors, but together our impact is magnified for our mutual benefit and ultimately for the benefit of all humanity. Shortly, you will hear from some exceptional thinkers from both universities who will reflect on the potential of our new alliance. And I'm sure you will feel inspired by what they have to say. And I invite you to consider joining the generous donors who are supporting our campaign. But now I'm delighted to turn things over to my colleague at Hebrew University, President Asher Cohen. President Cohen, over to you.
Thank you very much, President Gertler, for your highly gracious remarks. Thank you all for joining us today and helping to celebrate the re-envisioning and progression of one of our oldest Canada-Israel research collaborations. We are indeed honored to partner with the University of Toronto, a world-class university. Hebrew University and the University of Toronto have a history of connection that has proven itself to be beneficial to both universities. This alliance is an opportunity to advance excellence in our combined research and academia. Key to this collaboration is our shared expertise and strength in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship, represented at the Hebrew University through the Asper UG Innovate Center, another example of Canadian support. Our partnerships will enable both Canadian and Israeli students working together to develop skills that help bring creative ideas to life. And this launch represents international innovation research unity that is in service to global well-being, a source of pride for all our current and future supporters. This sense of pride in Canada-Israel relations serves as a reminder of the historic and invaluable support of the Halbert family and honors the late Dr. Ralph Halbert, who embodied through his philanthropic work the advancement of great academic achievements. He will forever be remembered as an inspiration, and we are delighted that his family continues his work today. I would also like to recognize Professor Janice Stein, revered at both University of Toronto and Hebrew University for her vision, which helped to advance this wonderful collaboration. Janice, we are truly grateful for your dedication to this alliance. As President Gertler pointed out, providing financial support for this collaboration speaks to its potential and success, and we thank and look forward to working together with Mr. Ronnie Appleby, who is chairing the Alliance Campaign Cabinet. The Alliance is supported by outstanding volunteers from both universities and the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, headed by our committed, one and only, Chair of the National Board, Monet Malevsky. Together, we know we can reach our goal. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Professor Gertler and President Gertler and President Cohen. So shortly, we are going to be joined by Oren Shagrir, who is the Vice President International of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and Joseph Wong, Interim Vice President International of the University of Toronto, in conversation with Professor Janice Stein. Professor Janice Stein is a name most of you will be familiar with. President Cohen referred to her. She's the Belzberg Professor of Conflict Management in the Department of Political Science and was the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the U of T. She's a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada and a member of the Order of Canada and Order of Ontario. She was awarded the Molson Prize by the Canada Council for outstanding contribution by a social scientist to public debate. She's an honorary foreign member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and has been awarded honorary doctorate of laws by the University of Alberta, University of Cape Breton, McMaster University, and Hebrew University. To introduce the next segment of our event, we will first share a short video introducing the inaugural research projects of the Alliance.
The Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the University of Toronto have come together to build integrated research teams with faculty and postdocs and undergraduate students to work together on big multidisciplinary challenges. These teams will work together for 3 to 4 years, and all our big problems are only approachable by breaking through silos. That's what this research alliance is doing.
For the most part, archaeology doesn't discover new vaccines, as which we would all be interested and happy with. It doesn't produce new industrial processes. This is an aspect of pure research. This is one of the great scientific challenges. What is our origins? Where do we come from?
I work on landscape evolution in different places in the world. The Kalahari is unique. It's a stable environment in terms of tectonics. The landscape supposedly is boring because it's all flat, but it's really interesting and amazing. And in fact, it added so much to my overall knowledge and understanding of how Earth behaves.
We are creating new proteins from scratch and also converting the existing proteins to proteins with better qualities, such as high stability and solubility.
So our research is looking at both the prehistory, the early human occupation of the Kalahari Basin, and the geology, the deep time history of that same geological structure. The impact is really potentially massive in understanding an area that I think was critical for human evolution.
So the goal of our project is to take all proteins that are present in COVID genome, which are about 26 proteins, and to engineer protein-based inhibitors to each COVID protein. Basically, being able to switch off the activity of each COVID protein one at a time. Many of the techniques required for this project are not available in our lab, and only by combining the expertise of all 6 participants, we will be able to successfully complete the goal of our project and to finish this exciting project and hopefully to publish the results in a high-impact journal.
We often think of archaeology as an individual heroic researcher going out to discover the past. But the way that is particularly the archaeology of human origins work is you need to bring together a very broad group of researchers with a broad range of competences. No single person knows geophysics, many different branches of geophysics, geology, archaeology, palynology, fauna, zoology. It's just way too much.
This is very fruitful. Without international collaboration, specifically in my work, I would not get to where I got to today, and probably none of us would.
When we have these grand scientific challenges that unite people from around the world, I think that's really exciting.
Well, I think I'm Janice Stein, and I think those videos from our researchers really say it all, don't they, Professor Gertler and Professor Cohen? This is so exciting. I think it fulfills a dream for the founders who began to work on this relationship, like the Halbert family so long ago. But I think it fulfills a dream and a vision for Professor Gertler and for Professor Cohen. I know you understand better than anyone how important international collaboration is. So thank you both for the extraordinary leadership that you have shown in bringing us to this exciting day. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce 2 friends. First, Vice President Oron Shagrir from the Hebrew University. He is the Vice President International. He is the Shulman Professor of Philosophy and Cognitive Science. And I'm always struck when I have the opportunity to spend time with Oron, how broad-ranging the scope of the research and the work that Alon does. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Alon. And right next to Alon is Joe Wong, University of Toronto's Vice President International. And how appropriate, Joe, that you are the Roz and Ralph Halbert Professor of Innovation. I think this ties the threads together in a wonderful way. Let me ask you first. I think I know the answer, but let me ask you, and we'll start with Alon. What makes this alliance of these two universities so special? Why did this research alliance come together?
I think that, the answer in a way is very simple. I mean, Canada and Israel are two powerful academic centers, and the University of Toronto and Hebrew University are the best research institutions in their countries. So it's very natural that the two institutions collaborate. But more than that, the two institutions already have a very successful history of 13 years of collaboration that includes joint teaching, exchange programs, research programs, workshops, and more. We thus already built the foundations for a larger scale research and training alliance. And this is what we are launching today. So we are very optimistic about the prospects of this alliance and looking forward to this.
Joe, what makes this so special for you?
Thanks, Janice. Let me begin by acknowledging this tremendous honor I have of being the Ralph and Roz Halbert Professor of Innovation here at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at U of T. And I know Roz and family are in attendance today. And in fact, I think I probably would try to answer that question by going back to the conversation I had with Ralph right before the announcement of this chair, in which I recall him saying to me, he said, it says here, Joe, that you work on social innovation. What is social innovation? I said, well, it's about innovation. It's about disruptive innovation for positive social impact. And he looked at me and he said, that sounds good. Be a little more disruptive in both the work that you're doing and how you're doing it, and we're in business. And it was that inspiration, I think, that underlines this extraordinary alliance between our two universities. It's a shared commitment to global impact. Professor Cohen talked about our work in the service of global impact, and I think that's really important, but also a shared belief in the power of collaboration. We're not just adding two universities' powers together. It's not just adding 1 + 1, but we're knitting our universities together in multiple ways that will have a multiplicative effect. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, not only what we produce, but the processes by which we produce them.
I think the research videos of the two first teams that are funded as part of this research alliance really exemplify that. These are teams, in one case, of 6 people, multiplying the talent. It's not just adding the talent, it's multiplying the talent. Alon, tell us a little bit about protein engineering and design.
So, I must admit that I'm not the expert in this field, but I will be very glad to tell you about this project that is led by Sajid Sidhu from the University of Toronto and Julia Schiffman from the Hebrew University. The goal of this joint project is to engineer inhibitors to hundreds of various target proteins that are important in cancer and apparently in COVID-19. By switching off the activity of these proteins with their inhibitors, the researchers hope to provide a way to stop the disease. So here a team of several PIs from both sides, postdocs, PhD students, and master's students have jointly worked on incorporating new ideas bringing together different state-of-the-art computational and experimental methodologies in order to achieve this goal. One nice thing that I find about this project is that it initially it focused on cancer-associated targets, but with the appearance of the pandemic, the researchers apply a very similar strategy to development and validation of inhibitors for the majority of the 26 proteins present in COVID genome. So the COVID-2 inhibitors the researchers developed will present a toolbox of molecules that can be used to validate therapeutic potential of various targets in COVID-2.
You know, I think all of us have lived through, as President Gertler just said, you know, an extraordinary year. But one of the things that made this year a wonderful story was the incredible collaboration of scientists focused on a shared project who achieved something that most of us did not think would happen within a 10-month time period, the kind of vaccines that Israel has raced ahead with in rolling out, and we are trying to catch up as quickly as we can. But this was made possible by the kind of research alliance we're talking about. You saw the video from the team on archaeology, which goes back to the most important problem, as they said, our roots. But let me mention two other seeded projects that were so good that, frankly, if all the people in this room do what Professor Cohen and Professor Gertler hope, give us the resources we need to take this truly to great, these two projects would have been funded. They are just so good. One by a team, Professor Gusick and Professor Barr, on quantum phenomena. That is, as we all know, where we are going, and this kind of research is absolutely essential. A second one with Professor Mizrahi and Dean Melanie Wooden, our Dean of Arts and Science, on a unified theory of learning and memory. That one, I must say, I have a personal interest in. Whenever it comes to memory, I'm highly motivated. There is a third component, which we talked about, Joe, and I want to come to you. We are talking about building an innovation highway between the University of Toronto and the Hebrew University. Tell us about that.
Sure, Janice. I think it deserves underscoring the point that you make about collaboration. Without collaboration, we would not have seen the advances that we've seen. And this is what we'd like to be building in to our Research and Innovation Alliance, and specifically around what we're calling an international entrepreneurship highway. Both Presidents Cohen and Gertler have already spoken about the extraordinary capacity and the extraordinary achievements of our two universities. But I think also what deserves emphasizing is that it's not just the four walls of our universities, but it's the extraordinary ecosystem within which our universities operate. The health sector, the range of accelerators and incubators, the venture capital community, and so forth. And the question that we want to be addressing in terms of this international entrepreneurship highway is how do we connect not just our two universities, but our two ecosystems, and start really a flow of young entrepreneurs back and forth, learning from one another, gaining real hands-on experience in each other's ecosystems, but even more importantly, creating these kinds of networks. We know these networks are the basis upon which innovative entrepreneurship outcomes rest, and it's absolutely critical that we have our future young leaders and entrepreneurs on this highway. So this is something that is a priority of this alliance, and it speaks to the strengths of our two institutions.
So let me ask you just one further question. And if we had more time, I would bring Professor Gertler into this, because this is a big part of his contribution to scholarship. So somebody will have to tell me I'm out of time, Merrick, otherwise heads up. Joe, talk about the opportunities for our students, for graduate students, for postdocs, and for undergraduates to participate on this highway and in the research teams.
Well, absolutely. This is one of the core objectives of this Research and Innovation Alliance is, again, the movement of students back and forth. It's so critical in the 21st century that our young leaders have intercultural fluencies, that they have experiences in different countries and cultures around the world, that they're comfortable with this. We know this from talking to employers in every sector, that what they're looking for are these kinds of skills. So what better way than to have research teams, innovation highways, projects, and so forth that act as magnets, that just bring students back and forth, and so that they can be engaging, they can be creating these networks, and indeed having the kind of impactful change that we are all looking for into the future.
So the first year of our Research Alliance was in the sciences and engineering. This next year will be in the social sciences and humanities. All of our teams will work together for 3 or 4 years with integrated postdocs, as Joe has just said, graduate students, and even room for undergraduates, which makes this, I think, just extraordinary. It reflects both universities' vocation to infuse all our teaching with research. I'm going to ask Merrick for the last word here before we go to the research video. Merrick, on what your hopes are for the Innovation Highway.
Well, I think it's been well articulated by Joe what the benefits are. You know, the innovation economy in Israel has received so much notice, and deservedly so, from around the world. And you know, in the last few years, Toronto has also emerged as one of these hot spots for innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, while we tend to think of these as very localized spaces, we also know that the success of both of these clusters depends on their global connections. And that's the story that's less frequently told. And I for one, am just so excited by the opportunity for our students and our budding entrepreneurs to benefit from this potential for cross-learning across these international borders, and with the nurturing and the support that each of U of T and Hebrew University of Jerusalem can provide. I think it will be of immeasurable benefit to both countries and to both cities. So I couldn't be more excited.
So President Cohen and President Gertler, you could sense the excitement among the academic community, the research community, the leadership of both universities. Now we need help from all of you in this room to make, frankly, this dream come true. So we're going to watch a short video.
For the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, this partnership is really special one. We've been putting partnership across Canada for the last decade. But this partnership with the University of Toronto is the most substantial one, and I'm sure is going to be one of the best we ever created.
My parents, Ralph and Roz Halbert, have always been major advocates for higher education and its ability to transform lives. They dedicated their lives to making an impact in the Jewish community by connecting Canada and Israel. In 1977, through a partnership with the Canadian government, they founded the Halbert Center for Canadian Studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. To quote my late father, the essence was to build bridges through higher education. Innovation and collaboration were key elements in my parents' vision. They've been longtime supporters of the University of Toronto, and they initiated the Roz and Ralph Halbert Professorship of Innovation at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. In addition, as a result of their generous support, they are responsible for laying the groundwork and helping to establish this new alliance. By continuing to connect two countries through education and research, the University of Toronto, Hebrew University of Jerusalem Research and Innovation Alliance will continue to strengthen and build the bridges my parents initiated well into the future. I'm excited to honor my parents' legacy by following in their footsteps.
My connection to Hebrew U dates back to my childhood when my father, Nathan, chaired the Toronto chapter of the Canadian Friends of Hebrew U, later becoming the national president and then on to serving as a member of the International Board of Governors of the university, a position which he still holds to this day. His love, dedication, and support for Hebrew U inspired me to get involved, and I am delighted, as current chair of the Toronto chapter, to be part of this celebration of the partnership between HUGI and the University of Toronto. It is incumbent upon those of us in the next generation to continue the legacy of support established before us. I am personally committed to promoting this alliance, and I know that I speak for my fellow chapter members, many of whom have already taken a lead in joining the Alliance Campaign Cabinet.
As an alumnus, volunteer, donor, and past president of the Law Alumni Association at the University of Toronto, I've seen firsthand the power of philanthropy to create opportunity and to unlock potential. To bring together these leading universities to pursue groundbreaking discoveries and establish a shared innovation ecosystem requires visionary leaders who recognize the potential impact of this alliance. With your help, we can train the next generation of researchers with the skills and global mindset to collaborate across disciplines and cultures and support research and innovation that will benefit all of humanity. I hope you will join us in this important and exciting campaign.
Today, when we live in a world of challenges, we understand that collaboration and partnership is the only way to bring solution to the world. Together with our great team of volunteer leaders, headed by Ronnie Appleby, Janice Stein, and many others, I have no doubt that we will be able to raise up to the occasion and to raise all the means and give all the tools to the scientists to work together in order to bring solution to this world.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. This collaboration, this alliance, I think is going to be outstanding. I'm so excited for everything that's going on. I was a graduate of U of T. I attended U of T in the early 60s. My eldest daughter and my youngest daughter went to Hebrew University in 1990 and 1997. I became involved in the leadership of Canadian Friends of Hebrew University, actually through Ralph Halbert. The Halberts are so involved with Hebrew University and U of T. There's no question about it. But this morning, you heard from leaders, university leaders, researchers, volunteers about the plans to elevate this longtime friendship into a truly world-class research and innovation partnership. What will it mean? It will drive economic growth both in Israel and in Canada. It strengthens the bonds, the cultural bonds between our two countries. It will enable leading thinkers at U of T and Hebrew University to collaborate on a broad spectrum of the most pressing global challenges, deepest questions. It will train the next generation of researchers with the skills to collaborate across disciplines and cultures and support wide-ranging, groundbreaking research that will benefit all of humanity. It will empower our student entrepreneurs and connect Toronto and Jerusalem. It will drive our university's leadership in key areas of global consequence. Plans for this alliance, of course, began long before the current global pandemic. However, it is in the context of this pandemic that the research message of these universities takes on even greater urgency. with the crucial role of leading universities emerging in clear public view as having enormous relevance to our health and vitality. As individuals and as society, this is indeed the time to support our global research mission of this alliance. And the isolation that has been felt around the world gives new impetus to forging even stronger international partnerships and conversations as we emerge from the pandemic. However, we can't do this without the support of our entire community, without your support, without everybody's support. There's a great start. $5.9 million in existing endowments from the Canadian Friends of Hebrew University and donors such as the Halbert family are being allocated to this partnership. U of T and Hebrew University will also contribute annual funds equivalent to an $11 million endowment. However, to achieve the full vision and impact of this partnership, today we're announcing a goal of raising an additional $15 million. It's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. I want to thank as well the Alliance Campaign Cabinet who are working so hard. They've worked hard for this launch. They're working hard, and many of you will meet the cabinet, and they will participate throughout this event, throughout this event. I'd like to thank the cabinet, but I'd like to thank our speakers, all of them today. Each of you will receive a follow-up communication directing you to learn more about this partnership and this campaign. The ambitions of our fundraising efforts match the ambitions of this partnership to confront global challenges by bringing together the talent and ingenuity of two leading universities, two of the great cities and countries of this world. Ambitions on this scale require leaders with vision who recognize the potential impact of this alliance, and philanthropists looking to invest in solutions that span institutions and are global in scale and impact. We hope that you will join us in this important and exciting initiative and carry it out to the entire community. Thank you for joining us. This concludes our event.